Where are you hauling from? Me here from California,
Uh,
Pacific time. Where's everybody else coming from?
I'm from the US, but I live in Brazil, so I'm calling in from
Ooh,
South.
nice.
Mm-hmm. And Juan?
I'm from Argentina, actually.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Hola,
it's
everyone.
no, where-
I come from Greece originally, and I live in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome, Steph.
I'm
Sorry?
from
Nice to meet you
Spain.
too.
Welcome to the club.
Oh, thank you. Muchas gracias.
Max, a ti.
Yeah, I'm from Ukraine. And by the way, Joe, hello, nice to meet you. Richard, I guess like I know who you are, but if you'll have some time, uh,
I know
we'll
who
be glad
you
to hear.
are. I
Yes,
know
that
who you are.
sounds a bit menacing. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Richard is Fakani, who's like a longtime friend of mine. But yeah, if it's you, you can drop that into the chat. But like
Oh, okay.
just in case, Masood, hello, nice to see you. Prashant, hello as well. And John, also John, you're from Indonesia, right? Like you're living in Indonesia right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, Richard, I'm right. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, folks. So I guess we've had a couple of topics to discuss today, right? So Jorge dropped a Claude topic, and let me check. We've got Valentina. She's not on the call yet, but she proposed to discuss how to validate hypothesis. So I'm super curious about the Claude as well as like the second topic, but like I have not heard about what are the latest developments in the Claude space.
Well, there was
So
another one today, so it's now we have to choose about which one. But
Please.
basically, yesterday, the big thing was computer use. They've released basically a way that you can have the API used to interact with a user interface. And so, for example, you can give it control of your computer or of a browser. So people are using it to, for example, get data from here and put it on a spreadsheet, and it is able to do that within your computer. So it is basically an agent that they have packaged in a relatively easy way for users to use. No? Surprising that Anthropic went in this direction because they didn't even have web search a week ago, and now they have these where you can actually have it run, more complex tasks. You can have it run a headless browser, like if you had it on a server, no, and have it crawl websites with like Selenium-like interactions in that they render the page and are able to see it and take actions on it. So pretty neat. Still a developer tool, but basically it allows to do RPA, robotic process automation, with large language models instead of needing a tool like that, like Selenium or some other UI automator. No? It's also eating a little bit the market of another startup that was very hot on the industry, Multion, created by Div, and was one of the ones that had garnered the most investment of the smaller startups this few months.
Yeah.
Well, and today it can run code. That's it.
have you tried it already?
Yeah. I have had it just fill out a document with information that it was getting from different websites. So I gave it a list of 3 competitors to analyze, and it just went through the websites, get the data, put it on a text file. Nothing fancy. I could do that faster than it, no? But still, like if you have it doing this continuously, I still need to find other better use cases.
Have you?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, have you tried that already? Not yet.
I haven't yet.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, it's the second part, the code generation, no, because it was released this morning. So now you can go into Claude, the UI, and ask it to generate and run code. So like the code interpreter from ChatGPT, no? But basically, this is bringing Claude. Now I would say even like it's passing ChatGPT Plus as an interesting subscription.
I have a feeling that they are carving out their own niches, and Claude is becoming more and more dev focused. While,
Business.
yeah, exactly, it's easier to integrate into someone's platform, right? While OpenAI is still basing their business model on basically their subscribers.
The
For us,
consumer, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
That is a very good, interesting point to bring into like a product discussion, no? They seem to have identified the two different customers. Anthropic does go for the B2B, and they're doing everything possible to appeal to them, making it seem like they are the transparent ones, the solid one. One of their ads in San Francisco said, "The one without drama, Anthropic," right? Like that.
That's good.
They're creating like a whole story around this. That is that
Yeah.
we are the solid AI company that you can trust, and we'll be here in 2 months, and it's not suddenly going to change
I'm
direction.
surprised they don't have a sign up that says number of days since our last executive incident,
That would be so good. That would be so good. You should message them with this idea.
Yeah.
But by the way, if you'd like to check out how that ad looks like, Anthony posted that in Random and Memes channel in our Slack a couple days ago. So yeah, that's literally the one without all the drama. But honestly, like I'm not sure if that's a positive or a negative thing. So Anthony highlighted that. Is it something worth bragging about? So like,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that
I
publicity.
think so. It's just that OpenAI has had so much drama. Like, if the competitor had just had a little bit of drama, maybe it was like, you are like throwing a sucker punch by doing that. But OpenAI has had so much drama. I think it's like a fair picking.
And if you're gonna build a crucial part of your platform on a company that has tons of issues, yeah, I can see how that for a niche market is something that's really valuable. Absolutely.
When both
Yeah.
also do the service for you. Like, you have
Exactly.
A and B, and both work, and they have similar pricing. So why not choose the one that seems that is going to be there in a year? Or like it will not be absorbed by either Microsoft or like just consumed by infighting, no?
And the one that's actually building solutions that I cherish as a customer as well, because they are B2B focused. Absolutely, yeah. I feel like
And their messaging too speaks to that. Like they're speaking about their customers in a very different way, like partners, like OpenAI. It's very difficult to get their sales team on a call too.
Yeah.
They work very differently. Yeah. They are in a pedestal, a bit like they have so much interest, right? That they work with very differently with customers. Anthropic is still like white glove style of interactions, makes you feel good as a client, right? OpenAI kind of makes you feel like either you buy now or I'm gonna go talk to somebody else, and our time is ending.
Well, there was back in the day when Intel was doing the processors for the PCs, back in the beginning, AMD came up as a second source, right? And so it was a competitor. It copied the architecture, but there's value for companies at the time that wanted to say, hey, if Intel somehow stalls out or there's something that happens, we want to have a second source. And I think you could make the argument about AI that if you're going to spend the time as an enterprise bringing in generative AI, there's value in connecting to multiple
Duplicity.
companies, right? And in fact, I use that not as a second source in terms of
Alternative.
like if one goes down or not, but I sometimes have them review each other's content, right? And granted, you can tell a model to become a reviewer, but it's also nice to have a different model entirely become a reviewer and give input. And between that, by the end, when it comes back and says, yeah, this is really well done, and the other one says this is really well done, and you're like, okay, I have some confidence that everybody's agreeing. Not that, of course, I'm going to use
everybody.
You're right, but I'm
everybody or every computer.
Well, yeah, okay, you caught me. But it helps to have that agreement sometimes, or at least review. So there's a couple of reasons I think why it's good to have multiple players in the market, not just as the competition, but but also to give you options from an enterprise, to help you get a little more stability and safety, de-risk the
As
situation.
a user, as a company, and I think as a society, we want
Mhm.
to have that competition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
as John pointed out in the chat, wasn't this already an agent before Anthropic implemented it? So, John, I'm not sure if you found it, but I've seen a couple of similar products. And basically, right now, not only OpenAI is killing startups, but Anthropic as well, I guess, because I've seen, yeah, I've also seen several products that were claiming that they will become like this kind of agent for your local PC that will help you figure out different tasks, etc. And since Anthropic obviously has much more resources than kind of startups that are trying to get the funding and implement some stuff on top of existing technologies. That's why, yeah, they are killing yet another niche, I guess. But we'll see. Because, for example, again, talking from the product perspective, chat to PDF applications keep emerging, keep getting traffic from the Google and becoming like popular in their niche. So despite Edge browser right now has OpenAI integration with ChatGPT and is able to provide this chat with PDF functionality, still those chat to PDF startups are thriving and feeling better and better with each passing day. So I guess there will be some time when like big companies will consume all the market, and the same way like search engines are trying to like struggling to fight with Google. But I guess like there is a window for opportunity to like drill in a specific niche and become super experienced in that niche for those startups that are getting outplayed by Anthropic. So yeah.
There's a metaphor here, just or a simile. Basically, it's like what you say on the internet. Yes, there is no competition on the search engine, but there is another million opportunities inside of the internet, no? And so AI, in that sense, is an infrastructure level technology, like the internet. So in that sense, Anthropic may do something as a demo, like this, like your home computer agent. It's not better even than things that are open source and available today. It's just better packaged, no? It's more ready for a user that doesn't have technical knowledge. And the same will happen with each of these sections, each of these areas. These companies do have a lot of resources, but they also have more products. They have to do, production ready releases. They have enterprise users that they need to, build on the edges for. They have an international operation that they have to spend money on. So startups still have a huge advantage on agility and focus. There is still 1,000 niches that are not really well served. And OpenAI Anthropic will not be able to do all of this. If you're building a company, the core thing is to have one thought. Like, if models keep getting better and better, will my company and my business model benefit from that or be harmed? If it's the latter, one of these companies will kill you. If it's the former, these companies will only help you get better. And so in that sense, I don't think that it will get all of the market, no? I think it will open more markets than it closes, these companies, in a way.
Well, all the language models are a horizontal play, right? They're not going to dive into a vertical unless it's a very lucrative vertical that makes sense for them. Code generation, right? Generating code, working with developers. Yeah, a lot of them are going to start diving into that because there's a lot of money, a lot of revolution to be made there. But in the verticals, they're not going to go into construction. They're not going to go into any of those areas, right? They don't care.
BPOs, support, maybe
Yeah,
supports because it's affordable, like it's easy to approach building
maybe.
chatbots, but
But
something
it's
on that nature.
yeah.
I think that a problem that many product startups are facing right now regarding AI, if they are building AI-focused products, is that their product can easily become a feature of a larger AI product, right? And that's why people need to start focusing more on building solutions to regular life problems instead of features that can be easily added to these models.
Mhm. It's also true that when you build something generic to work for everybody, it will not be as efficient or as something that you've built narrow to work very well on that thing. So that is, I think, the other edge. But I think what Max was saying is right. I think we jumped into this without much introduction. Do you guys want to take a moment?
Yeah, honestly, I guess there are a couple of new people on the call. So, like, despite the conversation is super interesting, let's maybe get those people to
Let's do
introduce
it. Let's do
themselves.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool. So yeah, I guess we can go in a random order, like the way people are displayed on my screen, I guess. So, Steph, we've seen you already. So if you've got the time and you're not far away from your laptop already, maybe you'll tell us a bit about where do you work and what you're doing, if that's not a secret.
I literally just told a message that I'm about to leave, but I can quickly just introduce. By the way, let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's stay connected through this community. I'm a recruiter, and I work with Cisco Meraki particularly. Meraki is a business unit within Cisco. It's a cloud managed company. As mentioned earlier, for anyone that joined later, I'm based in the UK, but I hire a lot in all sorts of parts of the globe, which is really exciting. For example, at the moment, I'm hiring for a senior product manager in AI and analytics, who can be based anywhere in the US. But I'm hiring for network engineers here in EMEA, product managers, software engineers, lots of software SREs, for example, in India as well. Yeah. So feel free to reach out if anyone is ever interested, open to new opportunities. I'd love to share not just opportunities within Cisco, but I can share any opportunity that I see that is relevant, because I see a lot of jobs, which is part of my job. So I'm more than happy to help.
So Cisco Meraki is part of Cisco Systems, the
Yes.
networking company. Oh,
Yes, correct.
I didn't know. Interesting. I actually will send a couple of people your way. I'll connect with you. I know of a couple of PMs that are trying to switch jobs inside of AI. I know they're not
Absolutely.
easy to find, so
Yeah,
send
feel
those
free
your
to
way.
connect either in the community, you can ping me there, or through LinkedIn. And if there is any other way I can help, because I'm helping a lot of people, whether I know them or don't, or just randomly they reach out to me on LinkedIn, find jobs. So I can share best practices. I can share, what's happening in the market. I can share like cool AI tools to do your CV without you doing the job. We can do mock interviews. I can tell you, what kind of interviews we ask, for example. It gives you like an idea. So leverage me, all I'm trying to say. I'm a recruiter, so if there is any other way that I can help, I would love to.
Yeah,
Steph,
by
I'm
the
new
way,
to the community. My name's Hannah, and I'm definitely interested, and I'll ping you on LinkedIn. I'm based in the US, and definitely would be interested in chatting.
Excellent. And I can connect you with recruiters from Cisco as well and Meraki. Yeah, let's do that. Ping me and we will take it from there.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice to
Right.
meet you.
There as
yeah,
well.
the link building vibe is super strong on this call. So
That's right.
that's amazing, folks. By the way, Masood, probably you might be interested in reaching out to Steph as well. So just like maybe you will be. So yeah,
Max, man, you were the guy. You're like, oh yeah, we talked about this 3 weeks ago. You need to talk to him over here. You need to talk to him over here.
it
You totally
feels
are
like
you know what you did last summer, guy.
my memory is failing me too many times, unfortunately. So that's the case. But those rare times when it does not, I super appreciate that. So yeah, that's super
All
cool.
right.
Yeah, Steph, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please share the LinkedIn with the
Yes.
community. Drop that.
I did. Please excuse me. I really have to drop, but it was lovely to connect. And please invite me again. So let's stay connected.
Of course. Yeah.
Pleasure to meet
Have a
you.
good day, everyone.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Cheers.
Yeah, Hannah, since you've already introduced yourself a bit, do you mind?
Sure. Hi. My name's Hannah Wood, and I am based in Portland, Oregon currently, and I've been getting into AI. We have an AI networking group here in Portland where like 2 days ago, we went to a presentation by one of the US senators on AI and what they're doing in the US government. And everyone thinks that the US government is super behind, but the senators here in Oregon and Washington State, because obviously you have a lot of major companies here like Intel, Microsoft, et cetera, Amazon, everyone, they have to be very clued in. So it was on privacy and all the different legislation that's trying to help with making AI safer, not just in the US, but or whatever becomes with AI safer internationally and nationally. I'm a senior product manager. I currently work for an international company called Ronstad on their web applications. It's mostly, well, it's all B2B to C. And previously I had 5 years in health tech, and I'm trying to transition to a company that really focuses on AI and AI. And I've been taking a boot camp through Udemy, and it's more for developers. So I've gone through about 25% of the boot camp. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Could I ask you a
honestly,
question?
oh, yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
see as solutions for AI privacy
Oh my
in the
gosh.
markets? Because yeah, I see that as a really, really big issue across many types of industries. So
What the US Senator Wyden was talking about yesterday was doing an international pact, basically, to say, like, this is how we plan to protect people's privacy. These are like the set of rules that we'll have that we'll all mutually agree on. Within the US, they've already taken steps with like Digital Signatures Act. So you basically have to, like, you know how obviously the cookies work. It's a lot of more opting in than I think which is super annoying. Like, we're going to basically have to opt into everything, I think. But so that's one of the issues. Another issue, or another potential, I wouldn't say it's a solution, but something we have here in the US that I think most countries have in, yeah, cookies 2.0 or like 10.0 at that point. We have HIPAA privacy protections in health tech, and it already makes it very challenging, which is a good thing, for companies to expose data to other companies without very express content and intent, and you can get highly sued if you're not paying attention to those rules in the US. So I don't have the solutions, but I'm trying to listen and hear what's going on. I think that's a huge, huge area. I was listening to, I don't know if you've heard of Freakonomics. It's a podcast. Yeah. So they have a, yeah, exactly. They have a podcast that's talking about like what people do for their jobs and what they're thinking will happen with AI in terms of like sitting on our shoulder and telling us what to do or doing it for us. We don't know. But people keep talking about the they of, oh, they need to get together and establish rules. Like, and the host of Freakonomics, Stephen Dubner, is like, who's the they? Like, everybody keeps saying the they. Apparently labor groups are going to be trying to get in, like unions are going to be trying, at least in the US, are going to be trying to help with some of those regulations so their employees don't get all, you know, laid off with AI developments. But anyway, that's a very long answer. I'm just listening and trying to absorb as much as possible and help once we get more of these ideas flushed out.
I think the technology always move faster than legislation, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
We are finding exponential growth, not only in the technology itself, but in applications. It's gonna get messy before it gets better, but in my opinion, it should be the actually companies that are mostly interested in developing these products. For example, one big example might be Anthropic, because they are trying to be the one that sells mostly B2B, finding applicable solutions for this to be safe for companies to implement before regulation slams down on them. You know.
Yeah.
They are at least in my honest opinion, they should be the ones finding solutions to the safety concerns.
Yeah, I think in the US, and other people who live in the US can chime in, but California they are more on the ball when it comes to developing regulations in advance or on parity with what's happening in technology. Whereas, yeah, our U.S. federal government is way
Generally,
behind.
yeah.
And
Any
the
central
European
government.
privacy regulations are so much more stringent, so much more protective of users. It's where we should go in the US, but there's a lot of lobbying. So, and obviously it's expensive to do those types of privacy protections for users.
And
And
not only
has other
that,
downstream impacts. Like, for example, new
They can't
startups
sell the data.
will.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying the downstream impact. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought that my audio was broken. I was looking into this. No, just that with GDPR as well, like it is a little bit more stringent than CCPA, the California one, and way more stringent than anything else that is in the US. We do have a couple of other states that have decent data protection, but nothing compared. It's also, I mean, I agree with everything that you've said, but just to add the other side is that it is also a barrier for innovation sometimes.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot in Europe, no? We see that a lot. I come from Spain, just to give that context. And it is true that it is very much more difficult to innovate, both because of regulation and because of the financials, just how much disposable income there is on your users, or even how much more expensive it is for VCs to give you money. So all of that makes it much more difficult to innovate. I think that it is actually nice to have both things living in the same world, so that if you want to test something without such a regulated environment, you can do it somewhere. And if you want to actually make it solid, make it work for a long time for your populace, then you will take it somewhere else. I do prefer the mode of Europe, but if the US mode didn't exist, a lot of other innovations also would not happen. Like, for example, right now, you may have heard that there are multiple new frontier models that are just not released in Europe. Meta 3.2, the latest multimodal from Stable Diffusion, I think also had some problem. So Europe is just not getting the latest technology because of that fear of regulation. The rest of it, I am completely in agreement. The power of cookies, the click to cancel right now, that is the most, up-to-date topic. I think, is going to push the US to actually have more European-like regulation, but it's going to take a while.
I totally get what you're saying in terms of Europe not getting some of the technology right away. But in the US, we've also have massive issues with data breaches. Within the US government, my data was hacked by literally. So
but that's still happening in Europe. The breach or
Really?
cybersecurity is nothing to do with GDPR. The thing with GDPR really, it really defines how much you can keep things, that if a user asks you to delete it, you have to delete it, how you can relate data. So actually, the impact is that last one. So if there is a breach in a US company that is not following GDPR, your data may be not anonymized. So they can identify like your health records with your name. And that's the problem. Whilst in Europe, it's always anonymized by law, no? So even if they got your medical records, they wouldn't be able to link them to your name. That's the delta, yes.
So
even if they
that's
have the
a
data,
massive difference.
It is.
And what you're saying about the innovation, like, yeah, totally understand that Europe may not be getting the most current models or whatever, but at the same time, the exposure that we have as US residents, especially not of California, is we're being tools. Like our data
products,
is being used without consent to train.
We thank you for
models.
your training data.
So
we are the product, basically.
Yeah.
That is true, eh? Like this economy is maximizing for the corporation, for the capital generation, not for the society. Like that is a model. Like the US model is much more capital focused, and that's the only thing that matters, the growth of capital. And Europe is a mix. It's not necessarily like socialist government, but we do have a lot of good socialist some little features, like worker protections or healthcare or better regulation. So it is a mix.
I feel like
it's just a huge argument if we get into this.
Yeah, this is not a problem based only in technology. I feel like the world has three big type of economic models as a whole. US innovates, China massifies,
Copies.
and Europe basically regulates, right? And between all of the three things kind of work out, you know. The rest of us are
But it
just
also means that like people suffer in that friction, no? Either
Absolutely.
Europeans for not having tech or Americans for being in that sense used like by corporations, no? So there is a mix, or just the disparity creating new holes like in Latin America, how a lot of people, like companies, are not being able to find a great developer sometimes because all of the great ones are working remote for the US. And so that cuts innovation. So there's a lot of downstream. Probably similar thing happens in Eastern Europe, Max, I imagine. But I've heard this a lot from Latin America, for example. But yeah,
Oh,
sorry, it's
absolutely.
just a big topic if we get into, let's say,
Yeah.
economics of geopolitics.
Yeah, bringing us back to AI. Have you guys seen that there's been the first language model that became a millionaire? I don't remember I'll find an article and send it to on the Slack group. But there's a model that actually made their own crypto coin, and it's already having a value of over $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, I didn't see.
I've seen that story as well. I guess it was developed by Bloomberg, if I'm not mistaken. Like I might be making that up, but the case was that one AI basically created the token. The like whole another model made like a marketing strategy for that and pumped the coin. And basically AI became a millionaire by itself with like super small investment
Wait,
from
so it already
the
committed fraud on its first like money-making opportunity? Pump and dump?
Yes,
Wow.
literally like a rug pull. So yes,
Yeah.
kind
I didn't see,
yeah,
but that is pretty interesting. It should, of course, be illegal because that is pump, particularly if you can do it massively. But wow.
yeah. By the way, Hannah, I've added you to our PM chat. So please check
Thank you
if
very
you've
much.
got if
Sounds
you've
great.
got access, because like I'm not sure if I've added the right account. So like we've got several Hannas in our workspace, and we haven't chatted with you yet, I guess. So
I'll
that
just
should be
check
called,
that. I'll just check it.
yeah,
I'm sure it's fine, whatever it is.
yeah, that should be called AI product management. That's
Okay.
kind of our chat for product managers. We've got a couple folks who has not introduced themselves yet, I guess. So Joe, Daniel, hello. Like, do you have the ability to chat right now, or like you're far away? So Prashant, apologies, folks. I'm in listening mode. I'm from India, working in Zoho Corporations as product designer. It's great to meet you all. Yeah, likewise, because
Yeah.
getting to meet cool professionals, it's like super awesome. So yeah, hello, and we've got a lot of folks from India as well. Recently, Nishant, who's also from India, joined our like kind of small admin group. So hopefully there will be more events focused on Asian time zone, and those calls will be more convenient for you to join. So keep your eye on that, I guess.
And probably for you too, no, Max?
Yeah,
Because
I'm.
it's what, 7 p.m.?
It's 7 p.m. Yes, for me it's ideal in all the time zones, and like usually I'm awake at night, so like entirely messed work-life balance. So
Where are you based? Where is everybody based? I know
I'm
Spain. Sorry?
I'm in Argentina.
Argentina. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the US as well, but I'm lived in Austin for 22 years, but now I live in South Brazil, you know.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous of both of you.
They
Come on
were
down, the water's warm.
Yeah, the world is warmer, economy ain't that good. So give and take,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, the motosierra didn't work?
Actually,
So I
yeah.
am from I'm from Spain, but I live
Oh,
in California. I've been here for
Motosierra
like,
is working. It is working,
oh yeah.
but it is rough as well. So yeah, you gotta take the good with the bad,
It's about the motosierra, by the way, is just the topic, like what Milei used as like a metaphor for when he was gonna do cuts on the federal government.
Yeah, and
For
he
those
is
that didn't know.
he is doing Motosierra back and forth all the way around. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, bringing us back to topic, have you guys seen the last presentation of Tesla? That kind of blew my mind away. Not only AI driven cars and buses, but even robots. And what they are gonna do at first is have the robots be manually operated, and through that build an AI that learns from what people are doing in order to actually sell you robots that do chores on their own.
If it had been another company, like that would have been grounds for, I think, a big downturn, because that is really just promising smokeware, like with absolutely nothing to show. The robotaxi is a shame. Like there are real self-driving companies running in San Francisco. Tesla promised this, what, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, and still there's not a single one on the road. I don't know. They seem to be doing a lot of bad design choices lately. Still no LiDAR on the cars. So we'll see. We'll see. I have lost a little bit my faith on Tesla to deliver, and it has lost the lead on electric vehicles. I don't know. I do think that event, it was impressive for sure, but that is, I think, a problem. Like, why would you, as a public company that is supposed to just bank on profit, create such hype around something that does not exist? It only makes sense if you need to raise your stock price for some other reason, because you need to raise funding because you cannot do other than deliver right now on what you've promised. So, in my sense, it's a little bit of a bad sign for the business. I do think it's super cool, super futuristic, but a lot of smokeware too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think
Super cool though.
their design, I mean, the trucks are hideous. Like I see
Oh, that too.
here in Pacific Northwest, and they're terrible looking. Like I don't understand how they got that.
Well, they fired their principal designer like right before they did that, and it's said that it is because Elon Musk and
It
the principal
shows.
designer
It
did not agree
shows.
on like.
Yeah, honestly, the most baffling thing for me is that from a product design perspective, you've got those companies that are building cars for like a century already, and you can use their experience and develop from that and like hire like cool designers, etc. But at the same time, your like latest truck vehicle got so much flaws that are related to the like basic engineering that it's like literally impossible for anyone who's got like at least some experience to develop something like this. And like those kind of flaws are like literally mind-boggling, like detaching the wheels from the steering wheel and like literally making it electric. So yeah, a lot of stuff that can be debatable about that. So yeah, also like talking about AI, everybody is looking for a full self-driving that is not coming to the market, like not at least not yet. And meanwhile, Waymo is like taking over, and they started to like step by step consume that market. So like the biggest like promise that Tesla did not deliver yet might become irrelevant in a couple of years, since other companies that will make those smaller steps but move step by step would basically outrun Tesla in several years. So that's like at least my impression of what will happen.
It's also true that they don't love working with regulators, Tesla particularly, and that is a fault because Google is very good at this, and Google, Sux, and a few others already have cars running here because of that. They've been just working with California to make it happen. No? And Tesla is just not a very collaborative company in that sense, from what I've heard. So I
Absolutely.
wouldn't bet on them for that. I mean, I still think the Optimus bet would be amazing if they can get something like that. No, of course. And if anybody can do it, maybe it's them, but it's still a lot of smoke and mirrors.
But they do have a history of selling promises long term, and they turn a profit somehow. They still do it.
Yeah, I mean, you could also argue that the first time that they turn a profit is the first time that a big corporation did a pump and dump scheme with crypto, because how they turned a profit that quarter was actually buying a lot of Bitcoin, telling everybody to buy Bitcoin, and then selling it. Like that's just not the business of buying and like making cars, right? But it's still, if it shows on your, on your spreadsheet as a positive number, great.
The thing
That's
they think they haven't solved, and this is a concern that would mirror to language models, right? We're all pretty aware in product that when you have a language model working in software and that you're using it, you need to have human oversight, right? You need to have people that are looking at what's being produced and making sure that it actually makes sense. I was using the example the other day that, why do so many commercials in the US use actors who are from the UK, right? Because people will believe British accents. Americans are suckers for believing somebody with a British accent, right? So we'll look at language models and say, oh, it looks right. Man, that's a lot of words. That looks really good, right? Now, is it really is it based on real truth? Is it
It's
really
grounded.
true? Right? You got to go look at it. And I'm bringing this back to Tesla, right? The moment you tell somebody that, hey, you can let go of the wheel and let it drive, you have to anticipate that the person might be turning around, talking to people, right? Not doing something like paying attention. And at that point, how do you devise a solution where the car is like, I don't know what to do here. I got to go get me the human to give oversight, but that human is
When things are
distracted
so
and you're
quick.
in a real-time scenario, right? The fact that they released self-driving without the thought process that a person is still going to be behind the wheel and you have to alert them when things go wrong and that you don't have much time to do it. To me, that was careless because that's a problem I don't know how you solve. There are going to be people that are going to go to sleep in the car, put their head back like, oh, thank God, right? And at that point, you don't have a driver anymore and you don't have a way to let somebody know immediately that you've got a problem. So the Tesla, to me, they've innovated on a lot of things and the engineers I think are really good, but the decision to release some of this stuff to me that harkens back to Elon and some of the I think craziness that goes on in his brain.
Hyping, to like trying to make that stock blow up and
Yeah,
with
yeah.
promises that.
It's a bit careless, right? And reckless. You could even make the argument it's reckless release of things that shouldn't be released because there's not a way. If you tell somebody you don't need to pay attention anymore, how do you get their attention in a real-time scenario quick enough in order to let them intervene and fix the problem? The fact that we
There
can
are
think of that
attempts.
and we can think of that and they didn't and they still released it, to me says that there's a certain amount of recklessness with him that
There is.
I'm not bought into it, to the hype.
I do think I mean, it's nice that some companies trying, because somebody will push the envelope in that sense. But as you say, it's not one that I will like buy for myself either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you up to, by the way? I didn't get to ask, but Matt, what do you do there in Brazil? What are you working on?
So I have a company behind me in the fake
Planorama.
conference room image behind me. I started this about 7 years ago. We focus on design of software. So I don't mean development, but actually design. So software requirements, research, and UX design for software applications. So we do the user research, we do the requirements, the user stories, we write test cases, we do all the screen design
Hmm.
work for complex software, right? And that has
Hmm.
included over the years generative AI because we've tested that early since GPT-2 came out. and we downloaded it and, tried it on our own Linux boxes and, got it working and realized that there's a lot of innovation here coming up. So this is what we do in a nutshell. We have a professional services arm that companies hire us for to design their products, be their requirements team, and then make sure that everybody downstream, meaning the development team and QA and everybody, is getting what they need to execute in terms of stories and test cases and documentation and all the screens and things like that. So we're kind of the glue between, say product and actually getting the product out the door.
Yeah.
The
So
other
you mostly
side,
work with larger companies that just don't have your expertise, or is it more smaller companies that need like that extra team, that extra push to get their product out the
anywhere in
door?
between. We have a lot of enterprise companies we work with because this is an area where many struggle, and it almost doesn't depend on the size of the company. But normally they're struggling with getting software products, or it could be software, hardware products as well out the door. Either they're struggling with the cost of it, the cost to build it is way too much, or they're not getting the right product built, or it's not getting out the door fast enough. There's lots of challenges, but most of it comes, in my experience, it comes back to having good requirements, good solid requirements. So that's what we do at Planorama. And
It's pretty
we work
cool.
with hardware, AI.
I think that is one of the key areas right now, because defining requirements is really all that is needed really now to write software. It's the key thing. So software is becoming more of a commodity. Development is becoming easier and easier, cheaper. The one thing that hasn't improved yet also is that requirement definition, identifying what to build and how to build it. And that will be the role of the near future, in that you will have less and less developers, but you will actually need more and more attention to product management, design, and development.
I'm
I
not
tend to
sure that's
agree.
going to be the case, honestly. I think
What's
we're going to have LLM apps that are kind of putting product managers to the side. I think you're going to have full stack engineers that become AI engineers and don't need us as much, other than on strategy.
Well, the day that an engineer can understand the user, maybe that's true. But I think that the engineers really have a bad time understanding how users generally work. And when I say engineers, I generalize. I am an engineer too, and I'm a product manager, but I mean the engineer working on the software stack. No, I just
I
think.
hope you're right for my career. But when I've talked to venture capitalists here in Portland, they're like, get ready. Like, you need to know specifically what you're going to bring to the table in product, because
Oh, absolutely.
you will have these LLM apps that anyone can use, and especially engineers, that kind of bypasses what we do in product. Obviously, like when you're discussing roadmaps and you're planning out for the next 12 months, 18 months, whatever, you can get ideas from ChatGPT or whatever app you're going to use to do that. But in terms of like getting collaboration, you still need a product manager there. You need to get the buy-in from all the different stakeholders. But in terms of like the building, you're going to have all these different templates that people can use that become very complex and answer the questions that product managers
But also, everybody will have access to that. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think PMs will still be the differentiation between one company and another, in that, yes, I think the PMs will be the ones using these templates. The PMs will be using these tools, and there will be less PMs, most likely, yes.
Yeah.
But the same with all roles. And I think actually developers are much more affected by this. They are already. Like, developers today could be 3 to 10x more productive, particularly if they're going from if they're a senior position using AI. PMs do not have those efficiency tools yet, so it's not as easy to just eliminate the role. You could actually eliminate development earlier than you could eliminate roles in development earlier than product management. I am making a big bet on this area, nonetheless. So that is why I, fervently believe this. I do think that as engineers become more and more efficient, we have about 6 engineers per PM on an average company these days. And we're going to get to a point in which the bottleneck is on the PM. We're going to end up with 1 PM for every 2 engineers, with 1 PM for every engineer. And that is the important role, being able to define what to build and how to build. The actual process of building it's an iterative test. So you can actually have LLMs iterating on possibilities and a senior engineer validating what solution to actually execute in terms of the code, no? But the PM, you need somebody that decides how to solve a real problem. And I think that is really where the engineer fails. How to identify a real problem on the market and build a solution that works well for that user persona, no? And asking like a full stack software engineer to like, please understand the rental market enough to like create a solution that works well for the rentee and the landlord. They will have to go through years of experience to like understand the market, design for a persona, create good user flows. And all of that, I think, is even more difficult for them to do than for a PM to write code using AI.
I don't expect.
I agree, honestly, especially because it's easier to explain to a large language model what you want to do with your code than it is to give it enough context to actually provide a good enough product solutions. That I think that's one of the biggest hurdles, because you need to not only understand the product absolutely, but understand all of the background experience that we have, the market context. It's a lot of information that's not easily available, and it's not as easily transferable as what I need to build out of this, at least in my opinion.
It is pretty subjective, I would say, and it like what we are trying to do in product obviously is built on a lot. We were talking about requirements before, but to get to their requirements, you're doing like massive big picture strategy, what's happening with whatever problem you're trying to solve, that probably eventually generative AI will get there, but we still do have a slight advantage.
I think it helps, right? I mean, who can empathize better with a person than a person?
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what, in the end, that's the nugget that we're getting to, right? If somebody still has to say, what is the thing going to do? Right. And in order to do that, we've got to be able to translate and understand what people are trying to do and say, I think we have some way to solve that with some certain features. Now, with Planorama, what we do, I sometimes use, in fact, we've even built our own tool to help us in product management to brainstorm and to think about what features we might need, right? But we still have to come up with a plan, talk to people. We do live calls with potential users and talk through problems and challenges. Now, you can use generative AI to assist in extracting that information and even brainstorming with it. But to have a real sense for what's going to work, I think it's going to be a little bit of time. And I don't know what that is, but it's going to be a little bit of time before you can automate all of that. I think people still have got to be the point where we can understand what the other person really is going through, what their challenges, what their pain points are, what their workflow is. And AI doesn't have all the factors, in it that it can go and just figure out, well, here's the optimal. Right.
Yeah, because a lot of what we call intuition is actually just information aggregated from our past experiences too. And those are difficult to decide, like, okay, how do I gather that context to give it to an LLM to just one thought there. I really like the people obviously would understand people better. But the problem I think is a qualitative one. Like it can actually, like you could automate that process, sure. Like you could have a chain of prompts and that get the information from conversations that send questions to users and gather the answers. Now, is the total going to be useful? Is it going to be like remotely as good as what a human will propose as a roadmap? No, that is, I think, where we will find the barrier. Like the human still will understand those personas way better than a machine could, even if you could technically, automate the process of, have a call with a client that there's no one from your side, just an LLM listening and asking questions. Gather all of those information, format them into the documentation, estimate how much work is going to be. It could do it. It's just not going to be as good.
There is an interesting podcast I heard. It was about neuroscience, and there's a gentleman out, I think he's in Stanford, doing one about, and he did a one about theory of mind, right? This idea that if you're watching the movie Jaws, right, you can sit there and look at the person in the water and say, oh man, they got to be careful, right? But it's not in frame, right? Because you understand what's going to happen. You have context and you've lived as a person before, right? And so before and hopefully currently. And at that point, now you can put yourself in that person's shoes and say, oh, they're going to be a challenge. I can understand. That's what empathy is, right? And there's so much, as you said, Jorge, about the intuition, right? It's all these signals that you're not getting through words and it's little nuances from visuals and audio, right? And all of that comes together into present information that language models today just don't have. They don't have that information yet. So we're going to be able to devise solutions, I think, that they would never be able to come up with, but they can help brainstorm and get us out of our minds. Now, I will say,
And
though,
draft.
I
Yeah,
think
do some of the
your
mini work.
ideas about product management, there's a lot of it that is just work, like writing user stories, right? Like writing documentation. I think that
Yeah.
stuff is automatable. And in fact, it's even going to be questionable if user stories are the right way to write for language models if they're going to become more development focused. If teams are going to be focused on development that involve generative AI, are user stories the right way to communicate to make that more efficient? I don't know yet, but I think that's going to automate. I agree with you there.
No, I see where you're going from
Absolutely.
because user stories are deterministic paths. And this may not be deterministic in technologies. So I would like to show you something another day, Matt, and Hannah as well. So I'll leave that for another time, but we're building something exactly on this space. We just have a private alpha. So if one of these days you're interested, I'll share with you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
It's a pretty interesting product. I tried it myself. Honestly, yeah, love it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Juan.
And I do feel the biggest hurdle in at least I had as a program manager is really related to what Matt's saying. There's so even if I could describe it, right? There's so much context I need to give the AI to be able to give a solution that's approaches what I could achieve on my own, that it's not yet feasible. If for example, let's say that Google used every single thing that's on every single call I have, on every single email I send, on every single chat I have, maybe then it could be easier, but there's still a big hurdle. And at the same time, to close up, I think there's really something what Max is saying on the chat. AIs are people pleasers, and you really need to say
Sycophants.
no and say, this is not feasible, this might not be profitable, this might not be a good user experience. And that I feel is a hurdle that AI has as well for our kind of particular job.
I think that latter part is very important actually because it may prevent the real quality. If you cannot say, when a feature idea is crap, you're gonna
Yeah.
end up with a lot of, morralla, a lot of trash in your roadmap too. Trash in, trash out.
Hannah, did
Yeah.
you want to say something? I'm sorry. I think I talked over you at one point. I
No,
apologize.
not at all. I was just listening.
Oh,
This
okay.
has been a really great conversation. How often do you do these roundtables?
Monthly, give or take.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm game for talking about this stuff anytime. I was just thinking about the privacy stuff and especially what I was listening to on that podcast. Like the they could be us. Like the they could be anyone who steps up and about anything, not even just privacy, but in terms of AI, it just seems like there's so many opportunities for people who care about how this is going to work and how it's going to help people, and not do the opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Somebody's gotta build the feature. Could be us.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah. Like coming up with like even recommendations that you just put out there and say like we're reflecting on these questions. These are our initial takes on the matter. What do people think? Like whether it's on Slack communities or on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent topic for the upcoming community call,
There we
like
go.
the AI and privacy. So yeah, that's a cool idea.
So we have that next week too.
I think next week or month. I don't know. When are you doing these?
Yeah, we've basically the kind of product stuff is more Juan's part of the whole deal, I'd say. So basically, Juan is a little there, and in general, like we used to have those community calls bi-weekly, so once per 2 weeks. And previously, we've discussed different products that used AI under the hood, mostly focused on product management, but there were like several exceptions for like really cool products. So actually, I guess we will think about what is the ideal kind of schedule for those calls. And we are definitely announcing them upfront. You can see the announcement from Juan in the general channel. So yeah, probably you won't miss those.
I think as a concept, we would love to have one at least once a month to keep it be a periodical stuff, right? But I mean, if you guys are interested, we could definitely do one next week or the week after that, especially about security and AI. Oh, I would love that, honestly. As long as we don't step on people's schedules, because we all have work-life balances, right, and stuff. But yeah, absolutely, I'm down.
Yeah, and we are like trying to experiment with the formats lately, and seems like this community call been super cool. So we need to make those like more often, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm game. Obviously, whatever works for people's schedules, assuming I'm awake. If it's
Yeah, that's
Okay, tell
fantastic.
you what do you think about doing the next one in a couple of weeks? Maybe not the next week, but the week after that. We can do that. That's one that's focused on AI and security and privacy. How do you feel about that?
That sounds
think
good.
it's a good
I
idea.
can Juan, I can also find you some information from this event I went to 2 days ago and share that with you just so you have more, I don't know, ammo for that
absolutely.
conversation.
We could definitely build an agenda. That would be awesome.
I'm sure there's a
I,
billion topics.
There is TechCrunch this week, and the next one I'm flying to back to Europe, so I actually will be unavailable for the next 2 weeks. This Thursday I could, but the next one difficult. Nonetheless, if any questions come up that I can help with, please let me know. And my co-founder can always probably join.
We can have it next week. I don't see a problem in that if everyone agrees.
Or in 3. Just let me know whenever it happens. I'll try to make it, but just a heads up that I am gonna be flying a lot these days.
Okay, sure thing. Awesome. Let's vote in it.
But that was fun, guys. We'd love to pick it back up and talk about product more in detail another day, guys. And for those that I've already talked to, like Masod and Juan, thank you so much for the help as well with the work that we'll be doing on the product. Just wanted to leave that said, and thank you all for all of those perspectives.
Yeah, it was
Thank
really nice
you.
to talk to y'all. Nice to
Yes,
meet
pleasure.
you, at
Real
least
pleasure.
video wise.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank
Have
you
a great
guys.
one. Thank you.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Guys.
Bye.
See ya.